Hi, I'm Fred Ullman, and welcome to Jersey Cape Fishing. Today is Saturday, May 3rd, 2003, the opening day to the New Jersey summer flounder season. As you can see, Mother Nature almost cooperated. We have air temperatures right around 50, northeast wind 15 to 25. It's going to make fishing, especially in the back here, a little difficult. Wind with the tide, you're going to go flying right by the fish. Wind against the tide, you're not going to move at all. We're set up with the boat. I'll be running the motor, and you just can't run the motor enough in the back to improve your fishing. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. We have plenty of bait, lots of live minnows, some real good strip baits, bucktails, plenty of hooks. So we're going to head out and see if we can get some of these Jersey flatfish. See you out there. Judging by the traffic, I would imagine the flounder knows something's different about today. What you're looking at now is what we call victims. These are two guys from our dock. Last night, everybody's excited about the opening day, so everybody made a $5 bet for the biggest flounder. I told them, you can sleep late and just give me the money now, but they had to come out and try it. You can see the wind's blowing northeast. They're saying 15 to 25. And right now we're drifting to the right of that dock. Tide's coming in. For the right drift, we should be going that way. The wind's just overpowering the tide right now. This is where running the motor is going to produce more fish. So I'm just going to swing the boat around, position it right, make a couple drifts in here. But we are drifting right now without putting the motor in gear. We are drifting in the wrong direction. What I'm using today is just a real light conventional rod, 10-pound fire line, 15-pound leader, and a half-ounce bucktail, and a strip of bait. This is a strip of mackerel. I'll use herring. You can use pro cut back here, anything you want, just a strip bait. You need something wobbling on the end of that bucktail. About that far from the end, slide the hook through, set to go. It's the simplest rig to use back here. Now just by popping the motor in and out of gear, I can just keep the boat moving at a real slow crawl through here. This time of the year when the water's cold, a slower presentation is going to get more hits. These fish may be a little sluggish, water temperatures hovering in the high 50s. These fish have basically been moving in for about the last few weeks. And all I'm doing is trying to keep that line as straight up and down as I can, and just keep picking that bucktail up off the bottom, dropping it back down. Gives it a real good hopping motion down there. Flounder lay on the bottom. They're ambushers. They camouflage in with the bottom. They just lay there looking for something to come by. By bouncing this bucktail up and down, you're letting a lot of fish know there's food down there. Tell you what, he's going to enjoy this a lot more than sitting home watching TV. First flounder of the year. You can see how he takes that bucktail right in the corner of his mouth there. This is a throwback. Legal size this year, 16.5 inches, 8 fish per angler, same as last year. Grab a flounder like that, squeeze in his gill plate a little bit, you paralyze him. He'll just sit there while you take the hook out. Pretty fish. He's right on 16 inches. Nice to be back. By running the motor this way, you can really control your direction. Like all these boats coming towards us, just by popping in and out of gear and working the controls, I can kind of weave my way in and out between them. Now by jigging the bucktail this way, you're presenting a very active target to the flounder. This is just bouncing it up and down off the bottom, and a lot of times as you pick it up, a flounder will just grab it and jerk the rod tip right back down, and you can feel it. They'll just grab it right down to the bottom. Just give them a few seconds. That's all they need to get that hook into their mouth. You can see it, the bucktail comes up, and right there it hit the bottom. Pick it up, hit the bottom. And anything that taps that, you'll feel it. You'll just feel that difference. Either the line gets tight or goes slack. Flounder will usually hit it from the bottom coming up when you're picking it up. They come in, they grab it at the easiest point for them, open their mouth again, and just inhale the bait. Just had a little one, feels like a little one, pick it up. Oh, maybe not. This one should be a keeper. He's coming up in circles. Foul hooked him. That's a nice summer flounder, but you can see he's foul hooked. Let's check the length. He's 21 inches on the button, but he's foul hooked. Ain't the sporting way.
What does that mean, Phil?
Means I just threw back a 21-inch flounder. He doesn't feel like he's a keeper. And he's 18 inches. 16 and a half is legal size, so this is what we call dinner.
First one of the season.
First one of the season. Let me put him in the box here. Sounds like Fred Astaire. You can see, for not being great weather, there's a lot of boats piled up back in here. Unfortunately, most of them are drifting the wrong way. They're letting the tide go one way and the wind's pushing them the other way. You can see every style of boat back here. So we're just going to keep trying to slide in between them, going the other way. It's nice back in here. You're always protected from the wind. Like with this wind out in the ocean or the bay, you'd be bouncing around really bad. You get guys come back here, they fish on kayaks, on wave runners. Back Bay is just user friendly. And right now, this is where most of the summer flounder are stacking up. There's so much food back in here. We saw at the dock last night that the minnows, they just had a big hatch, so there's all these baby minnows around. There's tons of grass shrimp. It's hard to tell the sizes. You can see how they just go through the water like a frisbee. And again, the bucktail right in the corner of the mouth. Now these fish aren't on a real good feed, and you can tell when they have this dirt on their white side, you can see how I can smear it around. When these fish are feeding, they lock this fin down and they pick themselves up off the bottom a little bit. When you see the mud on the white side, they're laying flat down. They're just hunkered down in that mud. They're not on a real good feed. So a day like that, you just have to work a little bit harder, and that's where a slower presentation will produce more fish. And he is 17 3/4 inches. You can see big mouth, lots of very sharp teeth, but they don't mesh. They're not made to cut a line off. They're just made to grab a hold of a minnow, a crab, shrimp, whatever, and hold on to them. General rule, whatever they can fit in that mouth, they can fit down their throat. Now this is only a 18-inch fish. Picture what you have when you get up to 5, 6, 7 pounds. You got something you can put your fist in. Don't be afraid about presenting a big bait to these fish. Just had another one pick up. Just can't beat a bucktail in the back. Now he's definitely a short. You can always tell a flounder, they do that real hard head shake when you're bringing them up. And he's just trying to shake that hook out of his mouth. And you can see the mud on his belly again. These fish are just not moving around right now. He's 17. He's a keeper. What we need now is a big one. We've moved, get away from that little buildup of traffic there. Now we're fishing in little creek. It's called Creasy's on the map. And you can see the road behind me there is North Wildwood Boulevard, 147. And a little narrow stretch of water here, but God, the flounder fishing here is usually great. Right here we had the opposite problem. The tide's still coming in a little bit, and the tide's pushing with it over here. So if you're not running the motor, in a matter of a minute, you're going to be flying through this area so fast on a straight drift that flounder won't even get to see the bait. In this area, we're at a turn in the channel here, and the wind and the tide are together. So if I wasn't popping the motor in gear, the boat would just continually pick up speed. In about a minute, you'd be drifting through here so fast, flounder wouldn't even see the bait, let alone have a chance to grab it. So popping the motor in and out of gear, I can just about bring the boat to a dead stop, hold it there for just a couple seconds, take it out of gear, the wind and the tide start moving you along again. You start to pick up a little speed, pop it back into gear, slow it down. Now I have the motor out of gear, tide's just about dead, the wind's just pushing us, and you can see by the side bank that we're flying through here fairly fast. For a fish that's laying on the bottom in dirty water, cloudy water, it's kind of hard for them to pick up a bait if it's going at them this fast. We've only been moving here for about 30 seconds, so it's just going to get worse. Brought two baits today, minnows and strip baits, and I've had 2 hits here. They just wouldn't take the bucktail, so I'm changing over. Going to put a single hook rig on with a minnow. See if we can entice the flounder to hit that. Always pays to come out with at least 2 different kind of baits. It's no fun being out here when the fish are picking on one thing and you don't have it, and you could have, but you left it back at the dock, or you didn't feel like picking it up at the tackle shop. You're going to commit to a day of fishing. Do it right, bring a couple different kind of baits. When you use a minnow, best way, put the hook through the bottom lip and out through the top. That minnow will get real active down there. See if a flounder will pick them up. Now hopefully the flounder will be a little more receptive to a live bait. I will still lift it up and down, and you don't want that minnow just sitting on the bottom. You want him hopping around, hopping up and down. Flounder lays flat on the bottom, his eyes are looking up. So anything that makes a move, he can really see. So you don't want your bait to be stealthy. You want it out there making a commotion, bouncing around. We've been up here for about a half hour without a bite. And I think we just picked up a nice flounder here. Yeah, he's a little better. After that long without a fish, it's a great fish. 19 and a half. And that's 4 in the box. This is a rough day of fishing. That wind's, it's got to be blowing better than 20 back here now. Since we started this morning, the water temperature on this incoming tide has gone from 59 down to 52. That makes it a little more difficult. Fish don't like those big fluctuations in water temperature. It takes them a little while to get used to it. They are cold-blooded. Now to show you how sluggish they are, this flounder, he picked up the minnow once and just spit it out. Now he's just laying on it. Give him a couple more seconds. And set the hook. He ain't doing a whole lot. Now you can see the size of that minnow. That little flounder went after it. But that's 2 fish in about 10 minutes, so maybe things are going to pick up. It's got to. The only way it could get worse is if it starts snowing. Had another flounder pick up. That live minnow on the bare hook. He might be a keeper. Looks like it. If I had bothered to take the time to net that fish, wind would have blown us right up on the sod bank. There's people fishing out here with gloves, heavy parkas on. This one here, a little over 17 inches. Probably the best eating size. You're looking at what's called dinner tonight. Box is getting a little busier. The weather's not cooperating, but the fish are starting to kick in a little bit. They're getting hungry, so am I. And a little nicer, maybe. He's doing a real hard head shake there. Just gonna ease him up. Yeah, he's a real nice one. That's a keeper. That's a good spring run summer flounder for in the back bays here. He is almost 26 inches long. Gorgeous fish. Gonna make the other ones look a little small. A creek no more than 100 yards wide. Some big fish back in here. May and June's the time to come back here and get them. That's 6.36, just about 6.5 pounds. That could take the bet back at our dock. If it doesn't, it means they cheated. Now there was about 6 or 7 boats here fishing this area for about the last hour. The other ones moved out. And that fish had been laying here for whatever reason. He just wasn't on the feed. Tide's just starting to go out now. He turned on. You fish one spot, you don't do anything. Come back on the change of the tide and try it. That can be a world of difference back here. And one thing I wanted to point out, I was watching another fishing program during the winter, and it was taped down in North Carolina. And the guys are out there fishing for flounder, and they only caught about 3 on the whole show. But they made a remark that when they get a flounder bite, they called it a beer bite. And the guy said he was using a live minnow on a plain hook. And he said when a flounder picks it up, you open up a can of beer, you drink it, and when you're done, finish the beer, that's when you set the hook. These flounder are vicious feeders down there. They don't nibble and pick at it. They just grab it and they pull it into their mouth. Now all 3 fish that they caught, 2 of them were undersized. The blood was just pouring out the gills. They had to throw them back. Those fish went back dead. So you don't have to give these fish. I mean, that fish there, he hit that minnow, and 5 seconds later, I set the hook on him. So you don't have to leave these fish bite a long time. You're going to get a lot of small fish back here. You want to do a good catch and release. You give them just a few seconds. It gives them time to grab it, pull it into their mouth, and you set the hook. So minimal amount of time. They won't swallow the hook. You can release all the small ones. Now I'm getting off my soapbox. Tide has just shifted. It's starting to run out now. It took a long time for that to happen because this northeast wind just keeps pushing water in the inlet. But it's starting to go out now. So here now we have the wind against the tide. And if I'm not running the motor in and out of gear like this, the wind is so strong that it's going to overpower the tide and again push me in the wrong direction. So where half hour ago the problem was moving too fast with the tide, if I wasn't running the motor, I'd be moving not only too fast but too fast against the tide. So this is a day, it's a tough day fishing. I mean, I love the fish, but this is working today. But we have 5 fish in the cooler that I know if I was just drifting, I doubt if I'd have any of them. Just a nice slow presentation just seems to get the job done back here. For this narrow little stretch, we're in 20 feet of water, so don't be afraid to come back in these narrow areas. In fact, if you want to check them out for the spots, come in here low tide. Come in nice and slow, you can work your way around, you can find the channels. In 20 feet of water, the water temperature is 52. When we left the dock this morning, it was actually hitting 60. Now as this tide starts to go out, the temperature will rise a few degrees. That'll help put the fish back on the bite. And I think a lot of people were out here today just because it was opening day. It's cold, it's damp, it's windy. It's amazing what a 6.5 pound flounder, how that'll warm you up though. Had a flounder pick up on the minnow again, hopefully. We're cold, we want to get home and get something hot to drink. And hopefully this will be a keeper. And I believe we may have the keeper to get us out of here. Yep, 17 inches. We can go home. Wait, you just took it out of a lobster house bag. Well, that's the conclusion of our opening day of flounder season 2003. You can see it was a hard day fishing. In fact, now that we're done, the sun's finally coming out. Thanks a lot. We had 8 keepers, probably easily that many throwbacks. 16.5 inches you're allowed, 8 fish per person. They go from 17 inches up to the big one is 26 inches, about 6.5 pounds. So this area has so much to offer. If you want to go out and enjoy the outdoors, do some fishing and crabbing, you get a chance, come on down, get out here, take the family out for a day, catch dinner. You can't beat it. See you next week.